You asked some very good questions. You also asked, I don't know if it was on the same video, but you asked about why are there other intuitives and psychics that are supporting the DT, and why are there others that are not? And I'm going to try to clarify some of this, but also this question, why is there no consequence for the evil or the things that are happening? Well, because this is revealing a corrupt system. This is revealing the darkness of the world and what has always been there, and that the elite and the people in power are the ones that have been controlling things, and that has to crumble. It all has to crumble in order for the people to come back into power and into unity, into love and peace on the earth. And so in order for us to shift into higher consciousness as a collective, into new earth energy, what has been hidden has to come to light. This is just one example of that. That's also why all this information is coming out about like Diddy, and there's things that are going to continue to come out that I think that people that don't understand how things have been so hidden might be shocked by. Like there's whole like shadow government stuff. There's whole like purposefully birthing psychics to use them and control them to manipulate the population. That's why they've hidden information about aliens and UFOs for so long. That's why like all this has been knowledge that people have held from the public, because they knew if the public knew their power, then they would lose the power. It's all been out of the ego. And this is what the age of Pisces was all about. What we're ending and moving into the age of Aquarius right now is we're in the middle of the shift of releasing the old masculine, patriotic, hierarchy, energy that the earth has been in for the last 2,500 years, and shifting into a more feminine energy. But to get there, we have to let go of all of the corruptness, which has been being built up since the beginning of the age of Pisces, which is where kind of around the time Jesus came, which Jesus was here to teach against. Like he came to warn people that this was going to happen. He came to let people know that the system is going to become corrupt by the religious leaders, by those in power, and to not listen. And that's why he taught about becoming still and knowing, and that you can't understand something unless you go inward. You can't see the truth unless you are connected to your heart. And that love is all that matters, and serving one another and helping the poor, and help. Like his message was clear. But the church has moved away from that because they have been corrupted in their mind by the power of those who know that they can manipulate and corrupt people's minds. And that's why they've gotten into all the systems within the public to be able to control what is happening. And especially America. America's the worst. We are not powerful. We are very weak because we're egotistic. And that's why things are going to begin to shift in the earth, because we can't hold this same kind of power in new earth energy because it's not of love. In order to move to new earth, we have to move into love. And so things have to be revealed, and the corruptness has to be exposed. So this is just simply another example of how things are corrupt. Now, you also, I'm trying to remember what your other question was, because I wanted to, you said something about why are there some mediums that support, or psychics or intuitives that support Trump, and then some that don't. This is a little bit of a harder thing to explain, but it's based on the frequency they are connecting to spirit in. Because when you have not done the inner work, you are still going to be looking for something outside of yourself to save you. when you have not released the ego's fear, you are going to interpret things outside of yourself as positive, because you're going to be looking through the ego's lens and not the spirit's lens, not the energy of love. And so that is how you are going to tell the difference between those intuitives that are connected to spirit and the intuitives that are still working through the ego. It's not that they're not gifted. There are a lot of gifted people. I was gifted before I had my awakening. I just didn't know it. I was interpreting through the lens of what I had been taught in religion. I was interpreting through the programming of who I had been told to be, until I did my work and I released all the ego mind and the fear that had been programmed into me. I couldn't tap into higher consciousness and interpret the messages clearly and understand that everything is about love. Everything is about unity. Again, going back to Jesus's message, he came to speak against this and he taught love. But in order to love, you have to let go of fear. The opposite of love is fear. So to keep people in fear is how you control them. So even Jesus said this, you will know them by their love. Watch that. How do they treat humanity? How is this an egotistic message of like, follow me, follow me, follow me? There's been a lot of psychics and intuitives, and I hate to call this out, that have been on TikTok for a long time that have huge followings. They're not all of them, but many, I would say at least 60 to 70% of them are not tapped into higher consciousness. They're tapped into their ego and they're trying to interpret messages through that. And therefore, they are not giving correct information. And then there's going to be other intuitives and psychics that are coming in just now. I was told, I think 5 or 6 months ago, that there was going to be a switch in the energy, and the spiritual people and psychics and people that think that they're working out of spirit are going to fall. And those that are tapped into the higher consciousness are going to rise. And I just started getting discovered, and I've had clients for the last 3 years saying, why don't people see your messages? Why don't people believe you? Why aren't people listening to you? I'm like, because I'm not here trying to prove anything. I'm here giving a message, and if people align with it, or if they're able to connect with the frequency that I'm sharing it at, then they will connect with it. But if you're connecting with the frequency out of fear, then you're going to go towards that. And that's where you're going to be at that point. There's nothing wrong with anybody. There's nothing, like, this isn't about judgment. This is about evolution of your growth and your frequency and understanding what spirit really is. There is nothing within the universe that should be putting you into fear. And now, it doesn't mean that we don't have those things that are scary on earth, because we're human, but our higher self knew we were going to be facing this stuff. And that's why we need to tap into our higher self. And so, yeah, in some way, I knew 2 years ago that Trump was going to be our next president. I didn't say anything because I didn't want it to be true. But I remember telling a friend, I was on a walk with a friend 2 years ago, and I had the message come through. And I told her, I'm like, I think Trump's going to be our next president. And she's like, oh God, no, I hope not. And I'm like, that's the message I got last night. I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. But this is happening because it has to happen this way in order to reveal the truth. And this is just the beginning of it. Him not getting the consequence is just the beginning. And the intuitives that have not been tapping into higher consciousness are going to be able, or start falling. Nothing bad against them. They just have to do the works in order to re-tap into that higher consciousness to bring more of a loving message to the community and collective.